السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم ارضه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم اجمع بيننا وبينه كما آمنا به ولم نره، ولا تفرق بيننا وبينه حتى تدخلنا مدخله. ثم أما بعد. Last time we talked about the prerequisites before Salah, the conditions that we have to observe before Salah, and we talked about the fara'id Salah, the things that we must do in our Salah. Quickly, we talked about the niyyah, intention, and takbirat al-ihram, al-qiyam, to stand in the fard, and if you cannot, it's a different story, and reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, and we talked about the different madhahib on this. And then we talked about al-ruku' and then tuma'nina within ruku' to calm down while you're making ruku', don't make it very fast. And some ulama said the least is to say Subhanallah, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim one time, and then al-raf' min al-ruku' to get up until your back is straight, and then stay for a while. It's called tuma'nina, and then sujood, and then and we talked about 7 limbs that we must touch the ground: the face, the 2 hands, the 2 knees, and the 2 feet. And then the tashahud, that sitting for tashahud al-akhir, and at-taslim. Some ulama said 1 taslim is enough. It's fard, and the other one is nafl. We talked in some detail about these arkan or fara'id as-salah, and today inshallah we'll talk about the sunan or nawafil. It's very interesting that one may think that these nawafil and sunan it's kind of easy to know, but if you really read the detail of the books of madhahib, you'll be surprised how different they are. Some consider some of these sunan hayat, and they differentiate between sunan al-hay'a wa sunnat al-ba'diyya, al-ab'ad, as part of salah yani. So they differentiate between the 2 levels of sunan. Some sunan, if you missed by mistake, then you need to make sujood sahw. Others, like Imam Shafi'i, divided sunan into 2. Imam Ahmad, in his madhab, they agreed with the Hanafis in differentiating between wajib and sunnah. So there's fard and there's wajib and there's sunnah in salah, as they all actually agreed on this difference in hajj. They differentiate between rukn and wajib and nafl. So we will talk about what's known in all madhahib. The first thing we talk about is raising our hands. We know that takbiratul ihram is for all schools of thought or madhahib. They agree that takbiratul ihram, say Allahu Akbar, this what begins our salah, right? So, but raising our hand, is it fard or sunnah? The takbir itself is fard. You have to start salah with Allahu Akbar, right? But raising our hand with it is sunnah. What is known here is that there are 4 places when we raise our hand. The first time with takbiratul ihram, the second time before the ruku', and the third time after raf' min al-ruku', and the 4th time when we stand after the middle tashahud, or the first tashahud, for the 3rd rak'ah. This is the madhab of Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Malik, or Imam Abu Hanifa said no, raf' al-yadayn only in takbirat al-ihram. So you raise your hand 1 time only. It's very interesting because this brings a lot of discussion about why is that. Before I start, there are plenty of ahadith. Some ahadith describe the prayer of the Prophet ﷺ, and they said he raised his hand in these 4 places, and this is the most authentic opinion. The second one suggests, or one hadith that Imam Abu Hanifa followed, hadith Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. They said all these hadith are authentic, but that has been mansukh or abrogated, because Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, كان يرفع ثم ترك وقال رفع فرفعنا وترك فتركنا. يعني Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said the Prophet in the beginning he used to raise his hand 4 times, but towards the end of his life sallallahu, he did not do that. So when he raised his hand, we raised our hand like him. And when he stopped raising his hand, we stopped raising our hand with him. So Imam Abu Hanifa from this said the last action or sunnah of the Prophet abrogates the first sunnah, right? But the Shafi'is and Hanbalis, they said no, this is not abrogation. There's no abrogation here, because the Khulafa al-Rashidin, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, they led the Salah, right? Abu Bakr used to lead Salah for almost 2 years, and then Umar for almost 11 years, then Uthman, and then Ali. So all of them, they did raise their hands in these 4 places. And the hadith is very authentic, narrated by Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. Abdullah ibn Umar described how the Prophet ﷺ raised his hand, takbir al-ihram, and then he raised his hand before ruku', and then after ruku'. And there's another hadith, or a hadith, talks about the 4th time when the Prophet ﷺ raised his hand after the middle tashahhud, and when he stands for the 3rd rak'ah. So basically, this is one of the main reasons why the madhahib disagree. The hadith are very authentic, and here, just to mention hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قام إلى الصلاة رفع يديه حتى يكون بحذو منكبيه. والحديث أيضا وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع رفعاهما كذلك وإذا أراد أن يركع رفعاهما مثل ذلك. So he said, when he says Allahu Akbar, takbir al-ihram, he raises his hand, and when he wants to go for ruku', he raises it the same way, and when he get or stand up after ruku', then he raises his hand the same way. And there's another hadith عن Abdullah ibn Umar أيضا in Bukhari and Abu Dawud and Nasa'i, and he said that he did the same thing after the middle tashahhud. So the khilaf, or the difference between the Shafi'i and Hanafi here, and I'm sure some people said, why do you raise your hand, keep raising your hand like this? If you, in Pakistan, I think if you go to Pakistan or in India, and you raise your hand like before ruku' and after ruku', people say, what are you doing, right? And they may kick you out of the masjid. If you don't raise your hand in a place where the majority of people are Shafi'is, like in Yemen, for example, or in Egypt, the majority of people follow Imam Shafi'i in the way he prays, people say, why don't you raise your hand, right? So now we know why. The hadith are very authentic, no doubt, but Imam Abu Hanifa relied on this hadith by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to raise his hand in these 4 places, but towards the end of his life, he just raised his hand only with takbir al-ihram. So when he raised his hand, we did follow him, and when he did not raise his hand, we did not. So is this naskh or abrogation or not abrogation? Abu Hanifa said that is abrogation. Naskh, yani khalas, yani he did something and then he stopped doing it. So we go with the last thing. This is what naskh means. The other ulama, Imam Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad, they said no, there's no abrogation here, because this hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, if you compare this hadith, the authenticity of the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud to the bunch of ahadith, there's no comparison. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim wrote, in length about this. He said there's no comparison. If you have hadith that's weak or not as authentic, with many hadith are very authentic, then there's no abrogation here. Abrogation is to be done with something similar in authenticity and authority of the abrogated ruling. Yani Quran can abrogate Quran, right? Okay? But to many ulama, the sunnah does not abrogate Quran because the Quran is stronger when it comes to authenticity. Is this point clear? It says usuli mas'ala yani. So what can abrogate what? Of course, Quran can abrogate the sunnah. But the sunnah cannot abrogate Quran according to some ulama. And others said no, if the hadith is mutawatir, is very authentic, then it has the authority, it's strong enough to abrogate the Quran. And of course, for the sunnah to abrogate the sunnah, the second or the second hukm or ruling must be stronger, or the authenticity of the hadith must be stronger than the hadith of the ruling that has been abrogated. So from here, Imam Abu Hanifa said, no, I will just do like what Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, because this hadith to me is authentic and it's clear abrogation to me. Other ulama said, no, there's no abrogation, because to abrogate a ruling, then you have to have a stronger hadith. But the opposite is true. The hadith that talks about raising his hand in these 4 times are much stronger than the hadith that of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu that says that Prophet in the end of his life stopped raising his hand. Is this point clear so far? So whether you raise your hand or not, both agree on raising their hand with takbiratul ihram. The Ibadis, they don't do that. Ibadis or the Khawarij, they don't do that. They say Allahu Akbar, and then they keep their hand straight down like this. Imam Malik also, interestingly, Imam Malik narrated the hadith of putting the right hand on the left hand, which we'll talk about later on in his Muwatta, but he did not do it. Why is that? Because he, radiallahu anhu, he differentiated between putting your hand like this to rely on your hand. For him, in his madhab, you cannot rely on anything. You cannot just put your hand in a wall or in a chair or in a stick or anything, right? So he differentiated between those who put their hand like this with the intention of following the sunnah, that's okay. But if they put their hand with the intention of relying on it because they're tired, then that's not the case. So he used to put his hand down, and other followers of Imam Malik, they said that also he in the end of his life he kept his right hand on the left hand. So Takbiratul Ihram, sunnah to raise your hand. How to raise it? I'm sure you have seen people doing like Allahu Akbar like this, and some people doing like this, right? How to raise your hand? Again, the narrator of the we don't have a picture or a video of how the Prophet ﷺ prayed, so we use just the description. So they said رَفَعَ يَدَيْهِ حَذْوَ مِنْ كَبَيْهِ, and the ulama said that your fingertips should be in the same level of your ears. So when you say Allahu Akbar like this, normally that's the way. I know some people say Allahu Akbar. They don't even, their hand does not reach their face or their chin. But the sunnah is to raise your hands until your fingertips are near your ears, right? Imam ibn al-Mundhir radiallahu anhu said that no one of the people of knowledge disagreed that the Prophet ﷺ, or disputed the fact that the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hand when he makes takbirat al-ihram. Then there are narrations for 50 sahabis. 50 sahabis, there are different hadith. All of them are coming from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum that they used to raise their hand with takbirat al-ihram. The 4 khulafa are included, and the 10 Sahaba of the Sahaba that have been promised Jannah are included. So it's very authentic to raise your hand with takbirat al-ihram as part of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They also, interestingly, they said, when should we raise our hand? Before takbir, after takbir, or during takbir? Those who looked at the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, they said, thumma kabbar. So rafa'a yadayhi thumma kabbar. Thumma means then. So it's like raising the hand first, and then the takbir comes after raising the hand. Like Allahu Akbar, and then put his hand right on the left. Um, and others said, كان النبي يرفع يديه حين يكبر. حين means while he's making takbir. He raises his hands like Allahu Akbar, like this. So while, yani, the rafa and the takbir are, they happen at the same time. So according to this, so either to raise your hand before the takbir or during the takbir, but you cannot say Allahu Akbar and then raise the hand. All right. All right. The second time, as I said, according to hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, and Abdullah ibn Umar, very authentic hadith, that فإذا أراد أن يركع رفعهما مثل ذلك وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع رفعهما كذلك وقال سمع الله لمن حمده ربنا ولك الحمد. So this hadith described the three places, and then the fourth hadith also in Bukhari and Abu Dawood and Nasa'i, and عن علي ibn Abi Talib رضي الله عنه and Abdullah ibn Umar, that Rasulullah ﷺ used to raise his hand after the middle tashahhud, in the beginning of the third rak'ah. Do men and women do the same thing? Yes, there's no difference between. In general, the description of the Salah of the Prophet did not differentiate between men and women. However, Imam al-Shafi'i said that I like for women when they make ruku' and sujood just to keep their body together. Is for not like a man. Like for sujood, for example, he prefers that their stomach touch their thighs. So when they make sujood, he said, I prefer to have a very large clothes and to keep themselves they don't spread their hands like men do. But this is an opinion of Imam al-Shafi'i. There's no hadith that says that, but he prefers for women in general, sitr or covering women is important. So he preferred that, radiallahu anhu, but again, nothing in the Sunnah says that women pray differently. Now, the second Sunnah is to put the right hand on the left hand. Again, some Imam Abu Hanifa said that they put the right hand, the left hand below the navel, right? تحت السرة, below. Imam al-Shafi'i said between the chest and above the navel, like in between, like this, right? And there's also some narration that the Prophet ﷺ used to put his right hand or left hand on his chest. So the chest, between the chest and the navel, and then below the navel. Different narrations. So whatever you do is also part of the sunnah. But almost everybody agrees that it is sunnah to put the right hand on the left hand. Many narrations that the Rasulullah ﷺ did that. Would you put your right palm exactly on the back of your left, or this should include also the wrist and part of your arm? Some narrations, it's sunnah to put your hand on part of the back of your hand and on the wrist, and like this. So to put the right hand on the left hand like this, so this will include the back of the hand, the wrist, and part of the arm, right? This is the second sunnah of the sunan as-salah. The third one is the dua known as dua al-istiftah. According to Abu Hanifa, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك تبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. Imam al-Shafi'i, there's another narration that adopted by Imam al-Shafi'i, in which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it's called دعاء التوجه. وجهت وجهي الذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا لا are you أول مسلمين? You're not أول مسلمين, right? وأنا من المسلمين, right? So أول مسلمين in the ayah, Allah said to the Prophet, say that وأنا أول مسلمين. The Prophet is أول مسلم, but we are not أول مسلمين. So there are a number of hadith about this dua al-istiftah. These are two authentic hadith. they asked the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, we noticed that after Takbir al-Ihram, you pause for a while before you start reading Al-Fatiha. So why is that? And then he said, hadith Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu said that when the Prophet ﷺ stands for prayer, after Takbir al-Ihram, he says that وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِيَ, I turn my face towards the one who created the heaven and the earth, حنيفا مسلما وما أنا من المشركين إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا من المسلمين. And then goes on, اللهم أنت الملك لا إله إلا أنت أنت ربي وأنا عبدك ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي جميعا إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت واهدني لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عني سيئها لا يصرف عني سيئها إلا أنت لبيك وسعديك والخير كله في يديك والشر ليس إليك وأنا بك وإليك تباركت وتعاليت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. It's long, beautiful hadith. This is called istiftah. Just you begin your salah with this beautiful dua, turning your face to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has no partners. My life, my prayer, my sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I am one of the believers asking for maghfirah and for guidance to the best of all akhlaq, and then praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لبيك وسعديك والخير كله بيديك والشر ليس إليك وأنا بك وإليك تباركت وتعاليت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Of course, if you just say سبحانك اللهم بحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك, that's also fine. Another one, also the question was asked by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, why he remained silent for a while after takbir and before the qira'ah. He said, I say, Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna khatayaya kama ba'adta bayna al-mashriqi wal-maghrib. Allahumma naqqini min khatayaya kama yunaqqa ath-thawb al-abyadu min ad-danas. Allahumma ghsilni min khatayaya bil-thalji wal-ma'i wal-barad. Beautiful dua. Bukhari and Muslim and other ulama. Beautiful. Just after you say Allahu Akbar, then Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna. Keep this far distance between me and my dhunub. Right? باعد بيني وبين خطاياي كما بعدت بين المشرق والمغرب. اللهم نقني من خطاياي كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. Purify me from sins as we clean. You know, when you have like nice white shirt and something happens, what do? Just go and clean it until it disappears, right? So beautiful. نقني من خطاياي كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. Allahumma ghsilni min khatayaya. Wash me or purify me from my sins with snow, water, and al-barad, these drops of water we see in the early morning on the leaves of the tree. Beautiful dua. So any one of these du'as will do, inshallah. Just know one of them, or if you want to learn more and to alternate, so sometimes you say this dua and the other time you say that dua, that will also be beautiful. Number 4, the fourth sunnah is al-isti'adha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. When you read Al-Quran, seek Allah's protection from a shaitan. This is very general, right? So it applies to the qira'ah in the salah or qira'ah out of the salah. So in hadith نافع بن جبير أيضا قال أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الشيطان الرجيم. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الشيطان الرجيم. Should we say it loudly? Imam al-Shafi'i said nothing wrong with that for the jahriya. Yani if the Imam leads the Salah, Fajr, Jum'ah, or Maghrib, or Isha, then he may say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. But Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim from Imam Shafi'i is wajib. It's must. You cannot just say it, within yourself. The Imam must say it loudly. And the Ma'mum, if you are praying by yourself, then you have to say it. For Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, it is sunnah to say it, but don't say it loudly. Imam Malik says it's not sunnah even. It's even bid'ah to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So if you are Maliki praying or leading the Salah with Shafi'is, you'll be in big trouble, right? At least the Hanafis, they said it is sunnah to say it, but don't say it loudly. Imam Malik said it's even bid'ah to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in the Salah. But isti'adha, it is after you make takbirat al-ihram and say one of these beautiful du'as, then a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. It's okay to say it, it's sunnah to say it, but don't raise your voice while saying it. And this only in the first rak'ah, by the way. So in the first rak'ah, before you read al-Fatiha, you may say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Imam Shafi'i said you say it loudly or secretly, it's up to you. Others said it is to be said secretly. But this only in the first rak'ah. You don't repeat this in every rak'ah. Now, at-ta'meen, saying ameen after the imam. Another, it's not controversial, it's we make it controversial. Well, I would just read some of the hadith that says that the ma'moom. So we differentiate between the imam and the ma'moom and the munfarid. Imam is the imam. The ma'moom is the one who prays behind an imam in jama'ah. Munfarid means you pray by yourself. All right? So we always say this is for the imam only, or for the imam and the ma'moom. Ma'moom means the follower, the one who prays behind an imam. Munfarid, coming from the word fard or infrad, the one who prays by himself. So it is sunnah for the imam and for the ma'moom and for the munfarid to say ameen. If you are praying by yourself and say waladdallin, it is sunnah also to say ameen according to the following ahadith. Hadith narrated by Imam Nasa'i, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, and also mentioned in al-Bukhari. One of the Sahaba said, Sallaytu wara Abi Hurairah. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he, for those who did not see the Prophet, Abu Hurairah led them in prayer and said, Wallahi, my prayer is similar to the prayer, or the most similar prayer to the prayer of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim loudly. This is one of the hadith Imam Shafi'i relies on, that al-Basmala is one of the ayat of the Quran, of the Fatiha, and therefore must be recited loudly, like all other verses of Surah Al-Fatiha. ثم قرأ بأم القرآن. Then he recited Al-Fatiha حتى إذا بلغ ولا الضالين. He said Ameen. The Imam himself said Ameen loudly, right? وقال الناس Ameen. People behind him said Ameen. ثم يقول أبو هريرة, after he prayed, he said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ إِنِّي لَأَشْبَهُكُمْ صَلَاةً بِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. The way I led you in prayer is very similar to the salah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In Bukhari also, Ibn Shihab said, وَكَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول آمين. وقال عطاء آمين دعاء أمن ابن الزبير ومن ورائه حتى إن للمسجد أمن ابن الزبير ومن وراءه حتى إن المسجد للجة. يعني Abdullah Zubair was leading the people in the Masjid al-Haram, and he, after he said وَلَا الضَّالِينَ, he said loudly Ameen, and everybody at the same time, and he said there was like the masjid was, the sound was very loud everywhere in the masjid. وقال نافع كان ابن عمر لا يدعه ويحضهم عليه وسمعت منه في ذلك خبرا. He said Abdullah ibn Umar used to do it, and he used to encourage people to say Ameen loudly. حتى يسمعها أهل الصف الأول فارتجوا بها المسجد. So they hear the Imam saying that, so everybody say it. So the masjid, the ta'meen is heard very loudly in the masjid. وابن حجر قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قرأ غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين فقال آمين يمد بها صوته. When he finished Al-Fatiha, he said ولا الضالين, he said آمين يمد بها صوته. He prolonged it. It's not just Ameen, it's Ameen. Imam al-Tirmidhi said this hadith Hasan. And many of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ used to do that and to say that, and then the Tabi'een and the Tabi'it Tabi'een. الإمام الحافظ حافظ بن حجر said سند هذا الحديث صحيح. The sanad, the hadith is authentic. قال عطاء ibn Rabah was the Imam of Masjid al-Haram. قال أدركت 200 من الصحابة. He did not see the Prophet. He was one of the Tabi'een. He was the most knowledgeable person in Mecca at that time. He was, described as like someone when you see him, you don't pay any attention to him. He was one of the Umayyad caliphs. He came to make Umrah and he saw people, following this man and going around him and sitting, listening to him. He said, who this man? He's black, short, does not look like a noble person. And he said, no, this Ata ibn Rabah. Ata ibn Rabah is the one who inherited the knowledge of the people of Mecca, and he was the most knowledgeable person at that time. He said, أدركت 200 من الصحابة في هذا المسجد. I met 200 of the Sahaba in this masjid. When the Imam says, وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ سَمِعْتُ لَهُمْ رَجَّةً. Rajja means vibration. I hear this. 200 of the Sahaba. He counted how many of the Sahaba did this. وعن عائشة أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما حسدتكم اليهود على شيء ما حسدتكم اليوم على السلام والتأمين خلف الإمام. The Jews did not envy you for something more than salam. When you meet each other, say salam alaikum, salam alaikum. That's beautiful, beautiful. And the Jews said, it's a beautiful practice that we don't do what these Muslims are doing. And saying Ameen behind the Imam. When it shows the unity and strength, right? I remember when I was young going and sometimes pray Jum'ah in Masjid al-Hussein, one of the most famous mosques in Egypt, near Al-Azhar. And I remember very well, when the Imam says, وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, you have like about 500, 600, 700 people saying Ameen at the same time, and they prolong it. Ameen. So this is the saying of Aisha radiallahu anha. Said, the Prophet said, she narrated this hadith, that the Prophet said, the Jews did not envy you for something more than as-salam, that you greet each other with as-salamu alaykum, and what ta'meen khalf al-imam, and saying Ameen behind the Imam. Hadith by Ahmad and Ibn Majah. It is also recommended or liked that to say Ameen at the same time with the Imam. In the hadith عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا قال الإمام, the Prophet said, when the Imam says غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, say Ameen. Because if your Ameen and the ta'meen of the angels happen at the same time, all your sins will be forgiven. Because the angels witness every salah. So when the Imam says Ameen and the Ma'moom, those behind him say Ameen, and the angel says Ameen at the same time, all your sins will be forgiven. Hadith also narrated by Al-Imam Al-Bukhari. Also another hadith, قال إذا قال الإمام غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, say Ameen. So it's preferred that the ta'meen of the Imam and the Ma'moom and hopefully the angels, they make this ta'meen at the same time. So there are a number of hadith, also hadith Ammar ibn Yasir. People complain to Umar that he does not know how to pray. He leads us in prayer, make mistake. And then Umar, when he saw him, said, what's the matter? These people claim that that you don't know how to lead people in prayer. You don't pray correctly. This is the people of Kufa, Iraq. It's tough. Actually, they complained about Sa'd, the Mamu of the Prophet, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. And the Umar fired him and he hired Ammar, and they also complained about Ammar. And then he said, Wallahi,
I lead them in prayer the way that Rasulullah ﷺ used to lead us in prayer. And then he described how he leads in prayer. And Umar radiallahu anhu, beautiful, يعني. And he described how he lead the salah. And Umar approved that. So Umar sent someone with Ammar to go and ask the people of the masajid, because to Umar it's a big issue if someone he hired and does not know how to lead people in prayer. So this person went. He did not leave any masjid in this city of Al-Kufa unless he went there and he asked about Ammar. What do you think about Ammar ibn Yasir? And people say he's a wonderful man, very righteous, and he's very just and fair, and we love him. Until he entered one particular masjid, and someone with the name is Usama ibn Qatada. His nickname is Aba Sa'da. فقال, you ask us about سعد ibn Abi Waqqas. كان لا يسير بالسرية ولا يقسم بالسوية ولا يعدل في القضية. Look at, he said لا يسير بالسرية, does not fight في سبيل الله. ولا يقسم بالسوية, when he distribute, he's not giving people equally. And ولا يعدل في القضية, when he judge, he does not judge based on fairness. قال Sa'd ibn Mu'adh asked the Prophet ﷺ, said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make me mustajab al-da'wah. Ask Allah to accept or to answer every prayer I do. And Rasulullah said, أطب مطعمك تكن مستجاب الدعوة. Purify your food. In other words, your income. Yani don't make money from haram. Your da'wah will be mustajab. And he was mustajab al-da'wah, Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Whatever dua he makes, it happens the way and the time he wants or he asked for. Some people have this, subhanAllah, blessing. So when Sa'd heard him saying that, he said, Wallahi, I'll make 3 dua against you. He said, Oh Allah, if this person is lying, he just wants to show off, give him long life and make him very poor and expose him to the fitna. Look at this dua, very tough. Because Asad knows that he's lying. He just wants to show off and just to. Some people like this. So he said, Oh Allah, give him long life and long poverty and expose him to the fitna. And this is exactly what happened. Someone with the name of Abdul Malik said, I saw this person when his eyebrows fell down. In other words, when someone grows very old and his eyebrows go down like this, right? Referring to his old age. He became very old. I saw him being very old. وَإِنَّهُ لَا يَتَعَرَّضُ الْجَوَارِ فِي الطَّرِيقِ يَغْمِزُهُنَّ. And when he see a young girl going, he'd go and talk to them and touch them and so on. In this old age, poor, and still have this fitna of young girls. Someone in his age should not do this. All right, so this is another sunnah of the sunan of as-salah, to say Ameen, whether you are leading the salah or you are following an imam or you are praying by yourself. It is sunnah to say Ameen. Again, then the recitation after Surah Al-Fatiha is sunnah. So reading Al-Fatiha is fard, you have to, and reading some of the Quran after Al-Fatiha in the first and the second rak'ah is sunnah. In the first and second rak'ah, in Fajr, in Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. And if you pray Nafl, also you pray some
ayat of the Quran or some surahs of the Quran. Should we read one full surah or we can read part of a surah? Which one is better? Some ulama said to read a surah like إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ or قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, right? It's better than reading part of another surah. Others said no. If you read like one page of Surah Al-Baqarah, it's part of a surah. It's better than reading a short surah. Yeah, and reading some ayat, which is part of a surah, is better than reading a small but complete surah. This clear? But again, there's no hadith that says which is better, to read part of a surah or to read full surah. But let me tell you how the Prophet ﷺ used to recite his beautiful recitation after Salah. Abi Qatada radiallahu anhu said, the Prophet ﷺ used to read in Dhuhr في الأوليين بأم الكتاب وسورتين وفي الركعتين الأخيرين بأم الكتاب ويسمعنا الآية أحيانا ويطول في الركعة الأولى ما لا يطول في الثانية وهكذا في الصبح. His first rak'ah usually is the longest one. His first rak'ah in Fajr, in Dhuhr, in Maghrib and Isha is the longest. And when he reads loudly in Fajr, Maghrib and Isha, usually the first rak'ah is long and the second rak'ah is short. And why is that? The Sahaba said, we think because he wants to give more time for people to join in the first rak'ah, right? So it is sunnah to make the qira'ah in the first rak'ah longer than the qira'ah of the second rak'ah for this reason. Imam Bukhari in his Sahih said باب الجمع بين السورتين في الركعة والقراءة بالخواتيم وبسورة قبل سورة. يعني you can read two surahs in one rak'ah. يعني you can lead the salah with Surah Al-Duha and Surah Alam Nashrah or 3 surahs. You can, that's okay, right? Or part of a surah like we did, for example, in Isha, we read part of Surah Al-Imran. قرأ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم المؤمنون في الصبح حتى إذا ذكر موسى وهارون أو ذكر عيسى أخذته سعلة فركع. He started Surah Al-Mu'minun. Then he started coughing, صلى الله عليه وسلم. So when he mentioned Musa عليه السلام, it's almost half the surah. Then he made ركوع. وقرأ عمر في الركعة الأولى ب120 آية, 120 آية of Surah Al-Baqarah in the first rak'ah. You need to know these ahadith. And the second rak'ah, he recited surah min al-mathani. There is al-sab'a al-tuwal and then al-mi'in and then al-mathani. So maybe one of the hawamim or perhaps surah Nur, al-mu'minun. So the first rak'ah he recited 120 of Al-Baqarah, and the second rak'ah he recited full surah of Al-Mathani. So you can read one surah in 2 rak'ahs. You can read the first half or 2/3 of a surah, and then the second rak'ah you read the rest of the surah. All these things are okay. Kullun fi kitabillah, as they said. Whether you read part of the surah or a full surah, it's okay. Or divide the surah in 2 rak'ahs, all are good. One of the people of Al-Ansar who used to lead Al-Ansar in Masjid Quba, and for those of you who went for Hajj, you know Masjid Quba. But he came up with like a unique way of recitation. After his recitation of Al-Fatiha, he recites Al-Fatiha and قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, and then he reads another. But after Al-Fatiha, he reads قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ.
and then he reads any other surah. وكان يصنع ذلك في كل ركعة فكلمه أصحابه. People said, why are you saying that? Why are you doing that? You read Al-Fatiha, then قل هو الله أحد, and then you choose any part of the Quran to read. He said, I will not stop doing that. I will not change the way I lead you in prayer. If you like it, then I can lead you. If you don't like it, find someone else to lead you. When the Prophet ﷺ went to visit them one day, as he usually used to go and pray in Masjid Quba, they told him, Rasulullah, this one leads us and he does this. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, يا فلان ما يمنعك أن تفعل ما يأمرك به أصحابك وما يحملك على لزوم هذه السورة. Why don't you listen to your people? And why you read قل هو الله أحد in every rak'ah? فقال إني أحبها. I love this surah. That's why. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم حبك إياها أدخلك الجنة. Your love to this surah put you in Jannah. This is another important point here. When I read this hadith, I always think about this concept of bid'ah. Why are you doing that? If someone came up with something, the Prophet ﷺ never did this. So according to the definition of bid'ah, something the Prophet didn't do, then this is bid'ah. And the Prophet ﷺ could have told him that, why are you doing that? I did not do that. Right? So why don't you lead your people in prayer as I do lead them in prayer? Why are you bringing something that I didn't do? I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't recommend for you. But the Prophet ﷺ, when he asked him why you're doing that, he said, because I love this surah. So I read it in every rak'ah. He said, your love to this surah admitted you to Jannah. And he approved it. Right? So he did not say, no, it's your bid'ah or anything of these things. وعن رجل من جهينة. Also is possible to recite this way. سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ في الصبح إذا زلزلت الأرض في الركعتين كلتيهما. So in the first rak'ah he recited Al-Fatiha and إذا زلزلت الأرض. In the second rak'ah Al-Fatiha and إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. There's nothing wrong with that. So Imam Ibn al-Qayyim collected the way the Prophet ﷺ used to recite, and he said sometimes he makes it long and sometimes make it short if they are traveling or if there's any other reason. So for Salat al-Fajr, for example, this is the example of how Rasulullah used to lead the Salah. Some of the narrations. كان يقرأ في الفجر بنحو 60 آية إلى 100, between 60 and 100 in Fajr. He led Salat al-Fajr with Surah Qaf, Surah Ar-Rum, إذا الشمس كورت, إذا زلزلت, in both rak'ahs. While traveling, he just led the Salah with قل أعوذ برب الفلق and قل أعوذ برب الناس. So sometimes he reads Surah Qaf and Surah Ar-Rum, and sometimes قل أعوذ برب الفلق and قل أعوذ برب الناس, because there are. So if you are an imam leading people, you have short break in the workplace and you're leading them, it's not nice to make it very long. Because you're holding, these people are captive. They cannot leave unless you. I remember, I don't know if I shared this with you before. There's a hadith that we'll mention now. In Salat al-Dhuhr, Rasulullah used to make the first rak'ah sometimes quite long. To the point, they said that someone can go to Al-Baqi', buy something and then go back to his home, make wudu, and then go to the masjid while the Prophet's still standing in the first rak'ah. When in high school, in our school, one of the biggest schools, like 5,000 students, huge school. And we have a musalla, masjid, yani. And we don't have one imam leads people. Every day, someone leads the salah. So this day, with the recess is almost 20 minutes. So sometimes by the time you leave your classroom and go, depends on what building you're in, it's a huge place. Then you go and make wudu, then almost 10 minutes are gone. So this guy, the first rak'ah, and the second rak'ah, and the ruku' and the sujood, it took about half an hour. It was very long salah. Can you imagine that Salat al-Dhuhr usually takes like 6, 7, 8 minutes, right? He said, yeah, hadith is there. Are you crazy? We have a recess, and if you are late, you'll be in trouble. And this is just an example of someone who read the hadith and applied it in the wrong way. And that, of course, would make people hate to go and pray again. Is he following the hadith? No, he's not following the hadith. Depends on the situation. You have to look at the overall situation. In Salat al-Maghrib, all right, here is some surprise for you. Sallaha marra bil-A'raf. Al-A'raf, one of the long surahs, right? Ma'idah, An'am, A'raf. Very long, almost more than a juz. In Salat al-Maghrib. And sometime, one day with At-Tur, one day Al-Mursalat, الصافات حاميم الدخان سبح اسم ربك الأعلى والتين والزيتون again and معوذتين. It depends on the situation. And Isha التين والزيتون سبح اسم ربك الأعلى والشمس وضحاها. It also depends on when, whether the time of the winter or in the summer. If it's in the summer, Isha is very difficult for people to make it long, but in the winter it's less difficult, of course. All right, I will stop here, inshallah, and next time we'll talk about some adhkar that should be said in ruku' and sujood and between the sujood. And when we go for sujood and we rise from sujood, should we go with our knees first or with our hands? 3 madhahib said you go with your knee first. So the knees go first, and then the hands, and then the face. So the knee, hand, the face. And when you rise from sujood, you do the exact opposite. You raise your face first, then your hand, and then your knees. With the exception of Imam al-Shafi'i, he liked to get our head, then the knees, and then the hand. To rely on the hand when you rise from sujood. But others, and Imam, I think it's Imam Malik who said you go with your hand first. You go with the hand and then the knees. But the other 3 madhahib, they said you go with knees first, then the hand, and then the face. So we'll stop here, inshallah. I will continue the sunan of as-salah next week, inshallah. I don't know if next week there's a history class, so the week after, inshallah. Next week for us, yani. Questions or comments? Oh, the near first. This is our rules. Okay, go ahead. Ameen, interestingly, it's not a verb, it's not a noun. It's something in between called ism fi'l. It's a sound that has a meaning. So it is between a noun and a verb. It's not classified as noun. Like we say, ouch. What does ouch mean? Is it a verb or a noun? It's neither. It's a sound that has a meaning, right? What's the meaning of ouch? I got hurt, right? Similarly, in Arabic, you say like ah, or awah, or ameen and uff. Uff is not a verb, it's not a noun, but it means that I'm very angry, or I'm angry. Uff, right? Or ameen means, oh Allah, accept, right? So this is what it means. Interestingly, it's used also in Christianity. Amen, right? Amen, or it's Ameen, right? Yes, sir.
When you're reading from long surah, it has to have minimum 3 ayah, right?
It has to what?
If you are reading long surah, instead of whole surah, you have to, minimum is from long surah, you have to have 3 ayah.
Oh, right. Well, they said if you are reading, they said either 3 ayahs, or you can read 1 ayah that has a full meaning. All right? So you can read 1 ayah with this condition. It has a complete meaning. Like Ayat al-Kursi, for example. Beautiful, right? Today in Salat al-Jum'ah, I recited, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُوا لِي وَلْيُؤْمِنُوا بِي لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ. Perfect, complete meaning. But you may go and read 3 ayat, but the meaning is not complete. Or read 1 ayah, but 1 ayah has no meaning. Or the meaning is very limited. It's not complete yet. Because sometimes the short surahs, 1 ayah complete the other, right? So the point is not the number of the ayat, rather it is whether you have a complete meaning or not. And of course you cannot end your qira'ah with incomplete meaning. Like for example, you cannot say أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الله أكبر. You cannot stop here. You have to say الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراؤون أنهم. So the meaning is important, right? Yes, sir. To Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, his way of is استعاذة أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. Imam Ahmad, Imam al-Shafi'i and Abu Hanifa, this أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So they chose this استعاذة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, or أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. So you add السميع العليم, and this is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, his madhab. You should say that in استعاذة. The hadith I read here, it says Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ash-shaytan rajim. But there are a number of other hadith the Imam or the ulama relied on a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim, and the Quran was general. يعني the ayah said فإذا قرأت القرآن فاستعذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. So whether you say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم or اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الشيطان الرجيم or أعوذ بالله السميع, they all do the استعاذة. سعد بن أبي وقاص ليس سعد بن معاذ. سعد بن معاذ مات في العام الخامس في شهر شوال من العام الخامس من الهجرة بعد غزوة أو أثناء غزوة الخندق أو بعد الخندق وقبل نهاية غزوة بني قريظة في العام الخامس من الهجرة. فسعد بن معاذ مات قبل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ب5 سنوات. الله أعلم. Yes.
During Salah, at what times can we make dua? And does it has to be in Arabic?
That's a good question that I was planning to talk about next time, but the Prophet ﷺ said, أقرب ما يكون العبد من ربه وهو ساجد. The nearest you can get from Allah is in sujood. فأكثروا فيه من الدعاء. So make plenty of dua in sujood. So we don't make dua while we're standing except the dua al-istiftah, and we don't make dua in ruku'. It's not sunnah to make dua in ruku'. It is sunnah to make dua in sujood. And we will talk about, there's a big difference between dua and dhikr. They can do dhikr, extra dhikr that we'll talk about next time. But dua is to be made in dua al-istiftah after takbiratul ihram, in sujood, and between tashahhud and taslim. We'll talk about this also. When you are done with the tashahhud, في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد, there are plenty of dua Rasulullah made. And one of his hadith, he said that when he told the Sahaba how to make tashahhud, he said, then choose whatever dua you like and make it. When you are done with the tashahhud and before you make taslim. Right? So these are the places of dua. And of course, right after salah. Right? When you make tasbih, and then it's also good time to make dua.
Can we make it even during Farad Namaz?
Yes. Yes. Fard and Nafl. Whether to do it in Arabic or not, we'll talk about this next time. Imam Abu Hanifa and others said no, it has to be in Arabic, because if you bring other language, then the salah is batil. But I personally have different opinions on this. We'll talk. Imam Shafi'i also is very strict with this. But we'll discuss this next time, inshallah. Naam.
In Zohar and Asr, when you are quoting the Imam, is it different for different, like Hanafi and Shafi, that some people recite Surah Fatiha in the back and some don't? And I heard that some people also do Quran after Fatiha.
So what did you hear about this? Is it recommended to read or not to read?
Some, when I was young, we used to read, then we came here, then no read. Then I
You came here where? What do you mean here? The United States or IAGD?
United States.
Okay. All right. We talked about this before. In summary, according to Imam Shafi'i, your salah, any salah, whether nafl or fard, without reading Al-Fatiha, or complete Al-Fatiha, is null, is void. Right? This is according to Imam Shafi'i. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, if you have an imam, the recitation of your imam is sufficient for you. Imam Malik's madhab, I believe, and I said that before, I believe is the most reasonable one. He said, if the imam is reciting loudly, then you have to listen. Because Allah said, when Al-Quran is being recited, then فَاسْتَمِعُوا, listen carefully, right? So when the Imam recites Al-Fatiha and then he starts reciting Surah, there's no room for you to read Al-Fatiha. Okay? So when the Imam reads, you listen. But when the Imam is silent, like in the third and fourth rak'ah in Isha and the third in Maghrib and in Dhuhr and Asr, then you must read Al-Fatiha. And this, I believe, makes a lot of sense. Because there are plenty of hadith. Rasulullah said, whoever does not recite Al-Fatiha, his prayer is incomplete. And other hadith said, La salah liman lam yaqra bi-Fatiha. There is no salah for the one who did not recite Al-Fatiha. So many other hadith give the same meaning. Now, to reconcile this with the ayah that says when the Quran is recited, listen, all right? I think Imam Malik's opinion here is moderate, balanced, and it makes a lot of sense. When the Imam reads, you listen. But when the Imam is silent, you read. Otherwise, what would you do in Dhuhr and Asr? You think about your business? What would you do? Just stand like this, doing what? Doing what? Salah is made for dhikr. And the best way of dhikr is Al-Quran. And the best of Al-Quran is Al-Fatiha. So it doesn't make any sense to just stand behind the Imam doing nothing. Right? So this is what I believe, Allah Ta'ala.
So is it just Fatiha or do you read after?
No. Well, again, if the Imam is silent, you read Al-Fatiha and a surah in Dhuhr and Asr. But in Maghrib and Isha, when the Imam reads, you don't read. But in the third, in Maghrib and third and fourth in Isha, you read only Al-Fatiha, right? But in Dhuhr and Asr, you have longer time. So read Al-Fatiha and a surah. Man, you are here to pray and to make dhikr, all right? Read Al-Fatiha. Read, because according to this ahadith and Imam Shafi'i, your salah is incomplete. Whether you are Imam or Ma'moom or Munfarid, you must read Al-Fatiha. Whether you're praying Nafl or Fard or even Janazah, any salah. Hadith is general. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. And he includes بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم as the first ayah of Al-Fatiha. So when the Imam is silent, you read. Right?
Imam Hanifa said that.
نعم. You ask Abu Hanifa then. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله. Just to answer your question very briefly, this hadith says whoever has an imam, then the recitation of the imam is sufficient for the ma'moom. However, many ulama consider this hadith to be mursal. Mursal means it's part of the weak hadith. Imam al-Zayla'i, in his famous book Nasb al-Raya, he mentions so many different narrations of the hadith that makes it strong. So he said, by the way, it's preferred to read Al-Fatiha. Imam Abu Hanifa did not say, don't read Al-Fatiha. He did not say that. He said, if you don't read Al-Fatiha, the qira'ah of the Imam is sufficient, but it's better to read Al-Fatiha. All right? Okay. Jazakumullah khair.